Republican Party is kind of taking a nap somewhere.
That was former House Speaker John Boehner declaring the Republican Party as he once knew it is gone, replaced by what he calls the Trump Party.
Taking a nap. Here to react to all this, former White House Chief of Staff and former RNC Chairman Reince Priebus. Always good to have you on, Reince.
Yeah, by the way, hey, it's nice to actually get you in front of the camera. You texted me yesterday because you were about to come on and you bailed on us, and I wanted to give you a little grief about that, but I understand you had a good excuse.
Well, when you get a text from the baseball coach at about 6 o'clock in the morning saying they're moving the game forward, you know, by 2 hours because they wanted to beat the rain, you have to understand, it's been raining in Washington, D.C. for a month and a half.
Yeah,
so
the swamp.
I apologize, but I really, you know, texting Ed Henry at 6:45 in the morning is always.
That sounds like
collusion. You enjoyed that,
Sounds
right?
like collusion, right?
Yeah, you got your priorities
He's
the
a
right
dad
order, though.
first, so
Yeah,
that's what
dad.
Speaking of collusion, we have a Russian we can root for now in the Washington Capitals. It's like the only Russian that we can be happy about in
NHL
America.
Stanley Cup, that's right.
That's right.
All right, Reince, what do you make of that quote there from John Boehner saying that the Republicans are basically taking a nap? I think he's actually speaking to a lot of the Trump supporters that felt when the president got into office, they didn't have his back. It wasn't like it was the Republican Party surrounding the president. It was the president oftentimes by himself.
Well, that may be true, but, you know, without the Republican National Committee and without a president that was disciplined and on message and speaking to the American worker, I don't think we'd have what we have today. So you can never divorce that, and I'll always remind people that the actual party infrastructure was a huge part of that campaign. But as far as this issue is concerned, look, not since Ronald Reagan, and I'd say maybe even beyond Reagan, President Trump had a personality and a persona and a brand that's so unique, not just to American politics, but to the country, that he sort of owns this piece of real estate. And no matter how anyone wants to analyze it, look, the Republican Party is a big entity, but more than ever before, the Trump brand is a huge entity. And it intersects each other about 85% of all of the things that Trump and the party believe in. What I would challenge the Republican Party, though, is instead of debating whether or not Trump is the party or the party is Trump, to take the best of Trump, which I have always said from the very beginning, even when I was in the White House, just come on TV and say, if the Republican Party becomes the permanent party of the American worker, we will never lose a national election again. Since President Trump's been in office, we've added over 334,000 manufacturing jobs. That is President Trump's bread and butter. And of all the analysis out there this week about this great economy, I can tell you the one thing that the president has always been focused on is wage growth. Because he knows that if people start putting more money in their pocket, it is absolute Teflon politically and for solidifying his future. And so I would just say that in a nutshell is where the party needs to be.
Is John Boehner saying, hey, basically Trump has succeeded in merging the two, or is he tipping his hand that, hey, the Never-Trumper movement's still out there? It may be on the side. We haven't really embraced this president yet.
I think it's a little of both, right? I mean, because you guys can watch this among Republicans as well, which is, you know, there's a reluctancy, at least a little bit. I mean, there's like, you know, a 10%, not much. There's a reluctancy to just admit the fact that under President Trump, we have had an incredible amount of prosperity. And I would challenge the president, start labeling it now. Don't call it the prosperity era, call it the Trump prosperity era, because that's really what will define President Trump. Now, he's got some big meetings coming up in Singapore, but, you know, of all the distractions out there and of all the things that, you know, you can watch on television that the media likes to obsess about, the one problem the anti-Trumpers have, and people with grievances and other, is that at the end of the day, President Trump, under his policies, have been doing an incredible job.
All right.
No one can deny it.
Reince Priebus, Chief of Staff, Party Chair, husband, and dad.
Most importantly.
Right.
Thanks for coming in, sir.
Good to
You
see you
bet.
this morning.
Thanks, everybody.
Good to see you. All right. Roseanne Barr, Samantha Bee, Joy Reid, all under fire for hateful rhetoric this week. They've all apologized. But should they be forgiven? Our interfaith is here to weigh in just ahead. It's a panel you don't want to miss.
Plus, have you seen this? A Democratic congressional candidate actually comparing the president to Osama bin Laden in a new campaign ad. We debate him. Pete does. Head on next.
After 9/11, the greatest threat to our